Chapter 8. From the Journal of Mallare, dated January. I am the one who contemplates. I am the knowing one. There is nothing I do not know. It is amazing to be Mallare. I have triumphed over 5 worlds. I look down upon a rabble of Mallares. There are 5 Mallares, 5 sullen-looking madmen. One of them sits and listens to voices. Another of them wanders about, staring, with sad eyes at intolerable visions. Another of them lies on his back, babbling excitedly with the darkness. Another of them eats and sleeps like a prosperous grocer. And there is a 5th Mallare who weeps, a baffling rogue who puts his arms around me and blubbers on my shoulder like a lodge brother. He says nothing, and of them all I dislike him the most. His silence is mysterious. His tears are uncomfortable. A distressing ass, weeping, blubbering, he implores me. Aha, I have it. I know his secret. He is memory, a memory of myself following me around like a heartbroken mother, a wayward son. 5 Mallares, 5 sinister comedians to entertain me. And I, what can I call myself? Pure reason? No, a disgusting title. Rather unreason, since I am after all the indifferent one. But all this is quibble, inspired by modesty. I am God. I am that which men have worshipped, the aloof one, the pitiless, and the amused one. The 5 tribes of Mallare rage and curse beneath me, fill the air with profanations, weep and gibber in the night. But I sit invalid and wait for them, even for that blubbering one, whose tongue is thick with tears, and whose idiot eyes implore me, and they return. They raise their faces to me, their God, and fall prostrate before my smile. Yes, it is the weeping one who causes me the most trouble. A reluctant worshipper who annoys me. He clings like another phantom, a meddlesome imbecile, who keeps buttonholing me and pouring out tales of woe, and who keeps my name on his lips. I can see it moving on his lips, but he is dumb. I have his secret, though. His dumb one came to me in the snow. I was faint. Hunger had thrown me to the ground. When I stood up, he was beside me. His lips moved excitedly, but they made no sound, and we walked home together. Who is this pathetic intruder, I thought. He walks beside me, gesturing with his lips and weeping. He falls on my neck and embraces me. His eyes roll with panic. What new variant of madness is this? It is curious that all of the Mallares, he alone, is speechless. The others keep up their incessant babbling and screaming, true citations of bedlam. But this dumb one who attached himself to me in the snow, even his lips have stopped moving now, except to form my name slowly as he blubbers on my shoulder. I am kind to him and forgiving. I smile. I even coax him to speak, to move his lips once more. In the snow, when he followed me home, I was able to detect words. His silence spoke. Blood on your hands, he repeated. Think, Mallare. I humored him and looked at my hands. They were clean. And I answered him soothingly. You're an interesting quirk, I said. My senses that fancy they have killed a woman have given birth to an illusion of guilt. And you are that illusion. My madness dresses itself in logic like a fishwife hanging rhinestones in her hair. Be calm, I said. Mallare has slain only a phantom, and the murder of illusion illusions is a highly respectable privilege, whose exercise is rewarded on earth as well as in heaven. But this creature was not to be diverted from himself. He's another one of them, I thought. He walks and implores, and wrings his hand and babbles, blood, blood that was real. And there is nothing to be done with him. Another pathologic symptom asked the hospitality of Mallare, and I must make the proper pretense of graciousness and cordiality. But first I must identify my guest. Take his measure out of the corner of my eye and understand him. Very well. I have been the victim of a hallucination which my senses accepted as real, and which I was able to murder only by pretending I, too, believed it real. Therefore, having committed this illusionary crime, there results this illusory sense of guilt. And thus we walked home, this dumb one and I, his absurd grief consuming me. I will confess, my name on his lips frightened me at first, as it sometimes does now, for he has become more than an illusion of guilt. He is, this sly fellow, a memory, inarticulate and envious. He envies me because I am clever enough to laugh at my madness. However, I will consider him later, in his various guises, for of all the Mallares, dumb though he is, and ludicrous with inane tears, he interests me the most. We walked home, and I finally fell to belaboring him. A pest, a mendicant, a croaking idiot. I cursed him out roundly, and refused him further attention. This is the wisest course sometimes. It is dangerous to humor too carelessly these sprawling Mallares. They are slyly at war with my omnipotence, and I can understand the anger of God. Sacrilege confuses him. And we are all alike, we gods. We are forced in an attitude of indifference in order that we may keep ourselves intact. Thus we look down on it with consummate dispassion upon our hallucinations, our worlds. And it is this dispassion that men worship in us, unable to understand our lack of interest, and terrified by our aloofness, that they prostrate themselves before an infinite mystery. Break. 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 Fucking break. Good fuck. Yet through the theology of God has become the secret of my unreason. I find myself dangerously susceptible. It is when I seek to appease my loneliness by raising one of the babbling ones to my side, he enters my black heaven with a pretense of gratitude, fawning before me and accepting my fellowship with humility. There follows then a moment of insidious diversion. Slowly a confusion fills me. Yes, even I am open to confusion. It is a pity I have for the babbling one. I listen to his complaints, the sad-eyed Mallare staring at intolerable visions. Mallare, the dark chatterer, or this other one, my friend the weeping lodge brother. Yes, I pity them and soothe them. But I find myself singularly moved. Their prayers move me. They begin to whisper that I return with them. I am tempted to follow them, to let them take my hand and lead me to their strange houses. But I smile in time, and my smile fixed and profound, overcomes them. They prostrate themselves once more before the mystery of my indifference. And I remain the god of Mallare. On this day, the dumb one sprawled along home with me. There were many curious things happened. I had walked all night in the snow, weary with hunger. Rita, who had driven me into a moment of fury, I had destroyed her for the time. A strange destruction during which I pummeled the air like a veritable madman. But the ruse had served to rid me of the hallucination for the night. Finally tired with walking and hunger, I fell from a bench in the park. When I awoke, I recalled at once the grotesque struggle of the night, and with this dumb, weeping creature dogging my steps, I returned home. She was still with me. I smiled, although I confess there was despair in my thought. For I had fancied the miserable business of the night had been put an end to the hallucination. No, she was still there. She was waiting for me on the couch. But my mind had not deceived itself. It was as I had thought. I had planned to rid myself of her by hating this phantom until my hate had darkened it. Then there would be nothing but an imperceptible shadow of her remaining, one with which my senses could no longer seduce themselves. And when I came into the room, I saw my plot was working, for her eyes no longer gleamed. A radiance had left her. My hate begins to operate upon this chimera, I thought. I frowned at her and sat down, worn out with the walking of the night. I have undermined the infatuation of this phantom, I thought. I would have been elate, but it occurred to me that there is an inconsistency. This dumb one, this sniveling one, persisted. And how should he, who has depended upon her death for his existence, persist in her presence? This was a question for Mallare, the indifferent one. This was a query to answer. I will write more about this blubberer, for the answerer to him is piquantly involved. It is like a head with too many hats. But now, not now. I will not write about him now. I will only bear him in mind. She watched me from the couch, and I became aware of something. I studied her cautiously. Her eyes no longer gleamed with love. There was a radiance absent. Aha, I thought. She hates. Mallare recovers the strings to his Frankenstein. His puppet dances again to his will. See, my senses no longer leap to her. They tremble wearily before the hate in her eyes.